Hey, Dwight Clow here, Inner Wealth. I want to share some thoughts with you from Galatians chapter 5. This is a very familiar passage for those of you who have been Christians for any length of time, any number of years. It's the fruit of the Spirit passage. It's verse 22 and 23. I'm reading from the New International Version. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance or patience or long-suffering in some translations, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." And the main point that I want to make here is that you can't manufacture fruit. You know, if you go out and try to build, get some carpentry tools or mechanics tools or whatever, and try to build an apple and then try to eat it, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to get sick because whatever you make is not going to be edible. Fruit cannot be manufactured. It has to be organically grown. And it's the same way with the fruit of the Spirit. It cannot be manufactured. And I know many people see this passage as prescriptive. In other words, this is something that I need to do, rather than descriptive. This is the evidence of God in my life. And so I want to just kind of clarify the difference between the two. The fruit of the Spirit is not prescriptive. In other words, there aren't like 3 easy steps to kindness. No, that's not how it works. There aren't like, if I'm not patient, I should, do this and do this and do this to become patient. Again, that's not how it works. This is the fruit of the Spirit. It's not the fruit of my self-effort. It's not the fruit of my hard work. It's not the fruit of my self-righteousness. It's the fruit of the Spirit. It doesn't come from me. It doesn't come from my works or my hard work or my trying harder. It comes from the Spirit. And so how do you get this stuff in your life? How do you get love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and all of this? How does it become part of our lives? Well, the way that it becomes part of our lives is when we look at our lives and we say, okay, I'm taking an honest assessment of myself and I am not very kind, and then instead of trying to become more kind, or I am not very joyful, instead of trying to become joyful, we take that to God and we say, hey, this, when I look at my life, this is not present. And when I think about being patient, this is what comes up inside, and it's not very pretty. What do you want me to know? What do you have for me? And so, anyway, we bring what we lack to God. And as we do, these are some things that we can share with God. Number one, if my feelings could talk, this is what they would say. In other words, we're just honest with God. This is what's going on inside me. You got to be honest with God, because transformation takes place when the real you meets the real Jesus. I mean, as long as either one is a fake, there is no transformation that will take place. So, if my feelings could talk, this is what they would say. Here's what feels true. Here are other times I've felt this way. And we bring those feelings of messages to Jesus. Let Him grant us the truth that sets us free. Let us enable us to see life from His perspective. And then things change, and that fruit of the Spirit becomes more a part of our lives. And just one more footnote, fruit grows over time. It just doesn't pop out on the branch the first day of spring. It grows over a season. And in the same way, the fruit of the Spirit grows over time in our lives. I'm more loving now than I was 10 years ago because the Spirit of God has had more time to work with me and create that love in my life. And it's not because Dwight Clow is somehow more loving. No, it's the Spirit of God has been at work in me to love other people through me. So, anyway, hope these thoughts are encouraging to you. For those of you who are Inner Wealth subscribers, we are going to be talking this Saturday about overcoming temptation. And I know a lot of people say Christians sin because we're sinners, we have the sin nature, and I'm going to take issue with that, and I'm going to share with you a very different perspective and some real techniques that enable you to overcome temptation. So for those of you who are subscribers to Inner Wealth, that's coming up this Saturday. If you want to know more about Inner Wealth, it's all at my website, dwightclow.com. Thanks so much. Hope these thoughts are helpful. Have a super day.